Hey, welcome to the Ozzstar's Cars channel. I'm Glen, and today's fun project, we're going to replace the front splitter on this 2018 Corvette Grand Sport. Happens to be my car, and I want to show you what's going on down here. We've got a stage 1 splitter, they call it. Some people might call it a spoiler, but this black piece of trim right here that comes across the front and over to there. And what we're going to do is replace that with, it's called a stage 2. So there's 3 different types of aero packages for the C7 Corvette. This is stage 1. We're going to go with stage 2, which it happens to be painted carbon flash metallic black is what they call it here. That's this color. But my point is it will be deeper, so it will be out here further, and it also has what they call winglets on the side. So that's going to look, I think, better with the stage 2 wicker bills that I had put on the back here. And I have a separate video if you're interested in these. They're about 2 inches tall. The stage 1 are only about, I'd say about a ½ inch up off of that back spoiler. So it should be a nice visual improvement, but also for handling and aerodynamics. Now the stage 3 front splitter would have, I'm going to show you all this, it won't have these little side winglets. It actually has winglets that come up here like this, up into this area. We're not going to be doing that. I didn't need all that, but I do want to show you the steps on how this is done. So let me take you under the car. I want to show you how we get this OEM splitter off, and I'll show you how it's attached. I mean, it's not rocket science. There's 12 of these screws or bolts, whatever you want to call them here. They're 7mm, 9/32 standard. And then we have 10 or 12 of these rivets. They're actually aluminum painted black. And we've got to get these rivets out, and that goes all the way down and around from that side to, this is the driver's side here. Now, don't forget, behind these little aerodynamic, I don't know what you call them, spoilers, I guess. So there's one back in this corner too that we have to take out a screw. But anyhow, to get these rivets out, that's probably the biggest challenge. Otherwise, once those are all out, you know, and the screws, it just pops off. Let me show you the 3 ways you can do it. We could grind them out, and in this case, it's a little bit tight under there to use the grinder, a little bit cumbersome. You can drill out the rivets. Now, something you need to keep in mind is when you drill a rivet, it can start spinning on you inside the hole, and then you're like stuck like a duck in the water there. So what you'll need to do is chisel it or break it off, and I'm just going to use this wide flathead screwdriver and hammer. So what we'll do is we'll drill as far as we can. That'll get the majority of the head of the rivet out of there, and then it'll be much more simpler, easier to break off with the screwdriver. So that's how we're going to do it. So let me show you guys the quickest and most efficient way I've found to remove these rivets, instead of just chiseling them off or grinding or drilling. Now we're going to drill, and I think this is a ½ inch bit. I'm going to drill until this thing just starts spinning. I'm just going to go in lightly and drill this until it'll spin. I can't go any further, and then I'll show you the next step. So just drill in slow and steady. That one's spinning already. You can try to hold it with a screwdriver if you want, maybe get a little bit more of it out, which we just did there. There we go. So that's it. It's just going to keep spinning. Now take your hammer and your screwdriver. Since this is weakened, that rivet is now weak, it should come off much easier than just straight chiseling on it. So let's see. There you go. All right, pop right off. Let me get the phone. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, so it's that easy. You don't have to make this a big deal. Now, keep in mind, you definitely want to wear those safety glasses because, you know, you're going to have metal chips going all over. And that's about it. So. So you have all the rivets removed now, and all we got to do is zip out these screws. And remember, I said this is 7mm. Now, if you get to the point where they're just spinning and don't come out, you can put a little bit of pressure behind here with a screwdriver, and that'll help you get them out. So let me do that. I'll leave like one in, and we'll pull this off together. We have one more bolt left, and then the whole thing should come right on out. Hopefully my belly won't bust out of my sweat jacket here on camera. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see my extra Corona pounds, that's for sure. Anyway, got that one out, and we should come down now. Let's see. Down and out, here we go. All right, and I'll push this off to the side. Now I'm gonna sweep up this area, get it nice and clean. But before I do that, this just dawned on me. Let me show you the differences here in the screws. So I can't tell you what size this is, but let's just say this is about 1 inch. That's the majority of the screws. The screws that hold the corner in, there's one here, and I might have shown it to you on the driver's side, but oof, let me aim this light up. That thing is like overexposing me. I don't like to be overexposed. All right, here's the difference. So I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but right there, I'd say this one's 1 1/8 inches. It's a little bit taller. So you'll have 2 longer screws out of, what is there, like 12 of them? So one long one there, one long one on the other corner. All the others across there are the same length. You will be reusing these. The kit that we bought from EOS, or I'm sorry, is it, yeah, Extreme Online Store, EOS, is comes with new screws. So in place of the rivets that we just took out, we'll be using screws for that. So, and also a combination of double-sided 3M tape, which I'll show you how to put on in just a second. Anyway, that's that. Let me clean up and I'll fire the camera back on. The next step here is under where the splitter sat. There's a bunch of like road debris, dirt and stuff. And I'm just gonna take some ammonia-free glass cleaner, get all this clean, sprayed, whatever you want to call it, wipe it down, and wherever there's some rivets that are popping through, I'll have to get those out of here, whether I cut them or whatever I got to do. I'll get them out of there. We don't want these sticking down. And get this nice and clean, because the new splitter will have that double-sided tape on it that I mentioned, and we want it to bond to the bumper cover as best we can. So I'll just do all that next. Okay, so for you guys that wonder, did I really get these rivets pulled through, you know, after we drilled them out? Well, we don't just walk the walk here on the Ozzstar Cars channel. We walk the walk and talk the talk. So once you take your dikes, which you just saw me do, kind of squeeze this down and cut off the excess. I take a Phillips screwdriver, and what I'm going to do is reach up behind the bumper cover. You can see my hand, yeah. And I can kind of feel it with my fingertips, and then just push it on through, which you just saw it pop out, and then here you go. So it's kind of this weird looking star doohickey right there, and that's it. So get them all out and get them out of your way. Move on to the next step. Another tip and trick. So after you get your rivets taken care of, make sure that all your metal, what do you call these, the nut clips where your screws go through that we took out, the factory screws, make sure that these are lining up in the hole here. If not, make sure that they get there, because otherwise your screw will have nothing to stick to. Now, our aftermarket replacement screws are just going to go right into this cover, this plastic cover, so that doesn't matter. But that is important, and just go ahead and verify all that, and hopefully that'll help your day go by just a little bit smoother. Here's the new splitter, and the first thing I'm going to do is take some of this Gary Dean Clean and Prep. You could use rubbing alcohol if you want, and just the surface area where we're going to apply some of that 3M tape. I'm going to put on right here. So you want it to bond really good. That's my point. So just to make sure there's no excessive oils or grease on here, we can get a good bond. That's all we need. So that's it for that. And let me show you what tape we're using, what I'm going to use anyhow. It's this 3M tape right here. This is the super strength, and I think this is a 1/2 inch thick. Now, I've seen guys online that go ahead and like tape this thing up like, I don't know, a tornado's coming. In the instruction manual, by the way, it does come with instructions. They're not too bad. They're pretty decent and they're specific. This is to the Corvette. It shows the tape really just in a couple of areas. Let me get you in close so you can see. Okay, so right here, like right along here and right along there. I might just put a piece in the center. That's all. You don't have to get crazy and use 3,000 feet of this stuff on there. You have plenty of screws holding it in place, or at least they should be. So let me open this up, and then we'll apply it. Actually, what I need to do is get a pair of scissors. Man, this is like really wrapped good here. All right, so got that roll. Let me grab a pair of scissors. So what I like to do with this stuff is kind of pre-peel it before you put it down, because sometimes it can be, this stuff is strong and it can be really tough to, you know, to get started. So I'm just going to put a strip right along here, just like the directions say, right basically between where these screws are going, and put it like right about here. We'll bend it a little bit, and then it says to stop it. Let me see my instructions. Yep, right about here. So they just had 2 sections, but that's all right. We'll just do one. Like I say, I've seen guys online, just, it's ridiculous how much tape they're actually wasting. So just make sure that's applied real tight. Okay, and this stuff's pretty thin. It doesn't stick up too high, and then we'll do it over here, same thing. Man, is this stuff tricky to get started. I'm telling you, I don't know how these guys, literally, I've seen guys, 20 pieces of tape all along here. This would take you forever to peel off if you try to use all these little pieces along here. It just doesn't make sense to me, but hey, what do I know, right? So let me get this going. And the nice thing about this thinner tape that's only a 1/2 inch wide is you can flex it, and hopefully that's showing up on camera. Let me zoom in so you can see how it kind of curves right along, and we don't have to use all those little pieces. So push that down nice and firm. Okay, so once your tape's on, you've got these 10 pre-drilled holes, and they give you these screws for these. You know, this is where the rivets used to be, and back here we'll just use our factory screws in there. Good time now to test it. Do not peel the red tape back until you've tested it, because once you've placed this up in there and this tape grabs a hold, it's pretty much stuck, and it doesn't take much. So that's basically it. So I'll go into the car now. I'm gonna finagle this in. If you have a helper, that might be handy if you're not familiar with doing this kind of stuff. This isn't my first splitter. You know, to just kind of balance it out for you. It's not heavy at all. It's an expensive $350 piece of plastic is what it is, but let's go put it in. Okay, so comparing the stage 1 to the stage 2 splitter, this one here in the center is about the same depth. Right here, from here to here, this only sticks out maybe a 1/2 inch, where the new one sticks out about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches. So it's going to definitely be more forward, and especially over here on the ends where this is just maybe 3/4 and this is what, almost 2 inches here, 1.5 inches. So there's a big difference between the stage 1 and stage 2. Plus we will have the winglets on the end. I want to start by getting the corners in this tabs. There's little tabs on the edge here. They go on top of that factory spoiler there, or air dam. Slide that in first. There we go. Okay. So there were a couple of holes here that the aftermarket screws were too small. These are number 8s. So I bought some number 10 trim head screws right here. I hope you can see it. They're 3/4 inch. And I just put them in like this one. It was still too small, so I just put it in next to it. There's one right there that fit. So what was interesting is where all the original rivet holes were, the new splitter actually lined up with those holes, so that's pretty good. But anyway, some of them were too large, and I just went ahead and replaced them with this kind here. So I guess you could put them intermittently, but I just put them exactly where the OEM stuff was. And I got one more to put right here. I wanted to give you guys a view of the splitter before we put the winglets on for the stage 2 on the side. Some guys may not want to put those on. I think it looks great. I'm very satisfied with it so far. The fit and finish is decent. It's going to need to be polished out, and then I will ceramic coat it like the rest of the car. But this end here, this one piece, to give you guys a heads up, the hole for that tab would not quite make it there. So what I did was just sandwiched this flange, I guess you could call it, on our splitter between this piece and then the that little flap underneath. So it's definitely in there snug. It's not going anywhere. Plus we have the tape. Okay, so it's time to put the winglets on, and this is the stage 2. What I want to do is I want to make the front of this tip right here, it's kind of beveled. Can you see that? And even with the front of the splitter itself. So I want to put it there. Some guys put it forward. I don't really care for that look, so I want it more aerodynamic. And then I'm just going to, at the bottom here, where it's level, kind of get it even with the splitter at the bottom after I put the tape on. Now, some guys will, this comes like pre-marked, drill holes through here and then put bolts and drill through the splitter and put bolts all the way through with a nut behind it, and they call it a day. Well, I'm going to put tape on mine. The kit does not come with the bolts. And I talked to Keith at EOS, and he tells me he'll give me a 3-month guarantee that these won't blow off. So hopefully they won't ever blow off. But what you do is get about 6 inches of your sticky tape. Now mine's only, like we talked about a 1/2 inch wide. So I'll put 2 rows on here, peel the red stuff off, and then kind of gently set that in there. So let me get this stuck to the splitter, and then I'll turn the camera back on. Get that down there. Get that on nice and tight. Put some pressure on it. When you're applying this stuff, try not to stretch it. When you're laying it out, you want to kind of just let it fall into place. Let me get my scissors here. Where did I put those? And so as you can see, I kind of doubled up here. Got these pre-started. That'll help you a lot. Get that. That's probably the hardest part of the whole gig, is just getting this red tape started. Now, peeled. Now put pressure on. This stuff works good with pressure. That's what it likes. Just put some good pressure on there. What I'm going to do at the top is, looking down, you know, this stuff isn't very thick, but it's a little bit thick. So when this piece goes right up against the splitter, there's a little bit of gap back here. Just to be anal, I'm going to take a black Sharpie and just color that black so I don't have to see the gray tape. That's all. It'll just blend in a little better. And now what we do, you guys need to see what I'm doing here. There we go. Oh, come on, cooperate, camera. Now, I'm gonna lay down here on my belly and peel this off. You really only get about 1 shot with this stuff. So right here, this can just be tucked under. It's no biggie. It'll never be seen. And remember, I'm going to take my fingers, hold them under here so I can feel this and feel this part and kind of line them up. And of course, lining up the front edge here too. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it'd be nice to get it pretty close. And you can just gently kind of just touch the tape and it'll kind of stick. where if you want to reposition right now, you can pull it off. And I think I'm going to bring it back down a little bit. So there we go, like that. Maybe that's too much. What I'll do is stand back. Let me get back here where you can't see me. I'm definitely going to bring it up. Okay. See, up close it looked all right, but from the distance it didn't look exactly where I wanted it. There we go. Let's try that. All right, so what I did is this is pretty flush down here, and then I made this even with this fender trim right here. This piece down here, you'll feel it, and this is kind of even. So I think that's pretty good point. Now I'm just going to press or squeeze. I'm going to put pressure behind it, and then kind of hold it for a couple seconds. And the longer that this is on here, the better it'll stick. And with those two pieces, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. So, and I really like the more smooth finish like a factory GM stage 2 splitter would have. They wouldn't have the bolts. A lot of them were just all molded in one piece. Let me get some detail juice, some cleaner, and I'll wipe the fingerprints down. All right, so with the passenger front on there, I think it looks great. And what I'll do now is I'll go do the driver's side, and then why don't we fire up the car, we'll pull it outside and see how it looks in the sunlight. Sun's starting to go down. I didn't realize it was getting so dark out, but you guys are the first to see it.